I am Callie Cox here with Grace Episcopal's Tootie Mackey, and we are here to ask about your time on Jeopardy. So, how did you find yourself on Jeopardy?
How did I find myself? I applied. I was in New York for another purpose. A group of young women, I was a young woman then, went to New York to the International Flower Show that was being staged at Madison Square Garden. And I was a great fan of Jeopardy, so I wrote an application and said, this is when I'll be in New York and I would love to be on Jeopardy. So that was quite fun. Well, while there, Jeopardy called the hotel office to get a hold of me. And so somebody in the office finally tracked me down. And I had to go for a face-to-face interview and then a mock game. They put several of us in a room. And that was interesting. You know, they were serious about having people who could do it. And I enjoyed it. We filmed the next day, and there were several of us in the group. I didn't do well. I didn't win any money, but it was a fascinating experience. It really was. The young man who won that contest, I think, was a minister. He was a young man from somewhere in the Midwest, and just as nice as he could be. And he just tore us up. That was because you've seen it on TV. There are three contestants, and it was fun. I was ashamed that I didn't win any money, but they gave each person that participated a encyclopedia. And we didn't need one because we had bought one. Ben and I had bought a set of encyclopedias. And I gave it away, the winning one. Greenwood had just started a shelter and a treatment place for alcoholics. And our church was very involved. Some of the church leaders were on the board, and so I gave the encyclopedias out to that facility, and hope they were well used. It was broadcast on television sometime after the filming, and I learned after the day. I knew it was on. I happened to be ready to watch that episode, and it was interrupted by an interview with the president, and I can't remember which president it was. Of course, it made me mad as hell. I was cut off, but nevertheless, it was a fun experience. It's just a once in a lifetime thing. You don't ever anticipate doing that again. But it was interesting.
What would you have done with the money if you had won it?
Oh, blown and have a party. I'd take a trip to the beach or something. That's like kind of like found money. You go dig in this yard, you might find some money in the ground. Oh.
What did you think of the host of Jeopardy? See any different?
The one who was there when I was there, his name was Fleming. He was a young man. He preceded Alex Trebek. And now they've got a succession of guests because Alex Trebek died in the last year. And the young man was fine. One there long enough to have a relationship, really, to know him except that I watched enough. I saw him over and over and over on film, on TV. But it's interesting that the show's been on that long. I don't know when it started, but it was '69 when I was there, and it wasn't new then.
Do you remember what the final Jeopardy question was?
I think I have it right because I've certainly pondered on it. They wanted to know the name of the American river that was discovered by Captain Cook on his Pacific. They didn't give you that word Pacific. On his voyage, Cook went all over the Pacific Ocean, discovering places that had never been in European minds. I kept thinking to myself as I pondered it, he was in the Pacific. I don't know a thing about the Pacific coast. I'm an Easterner. And the answer I gave him was the James River, which I knew was wrong. That's Virginia. And I guess the young man who won knew the answer, but I did not know the answer.
Do you think compared to the shows that you watch now, your show was difficult?
I don't think they made them easier or harder. Yeah, but they were. Do you watch it?
Of course.
Well, they do lots of literature, and if you don't read, you're not gonna win. And currently, it interests me. There's so much English lit, not American. You think they'd have more American stuff, but recently they've had an awful lot of English literature. And maybe I remember that because I don't read English lit. I don't know much of that one. Oh, particularly when they have those strange topics like stuff in the Middle East or stuff in Africa. You'd have to be, and I think you'd have to be prepared now to go on Jeopardy. You'd have to study and do note cards or what, just prepare to compete.
What name did you use on Jeopardy?
My name is Pierce Mackey. That's the name that I used. That's my mother's maiden name. I was named for her, and I was always Pierce in school, and but Tootie was a family and neighborhood playmate nickname. My grandparents in Columbia never called me Tootie, never. My grandparents in Camden did, and my friends and neighbors. But when I went to Winthrop as a freshman, I introduced myself as Pierce Webb. My maiden name was Webb. And what I got back was Pierce. That Pierce is more common than Pearce. And it really irked me. I didn't like being Pierce because that's not my name. So I just finally gave up. Don't just call me Tootie. So I've been Tootie ever since. If anybody calls me Pierce, I know they went to first grade with me and grew up in this little town with me. But the Tootie, I don't mind. I can be Tootie and be satisfied. Well, it was a fun experience. I'm glad I did it. Glad I did it.